Hello, ladies. Welcome, Fran.
Hello, hello, hello.
We are so
Hello.
excited to have you here. So this is all about welcoming in the month of May. We're recording before the month of May so that we can bring this together and share it with our audience. This month, we had the idea, because there are over 60 countries in the world that celebrate mothers in May. I thought that was super interesting, by the way. We decided to handpick 4 amazing mothers from around the world who inspire us, because we are sure that you are going to inspire our listeners and our clients
Oh,
as well.
thank you.
And the reason we're doing this is because we think there's something newly cool, and we know it's the big trend, how we read it this weekend, Dominique, about being over 50, and we want to share it with the world. So we're saying, watch out employers, watch out start-up-ers, watch out young-ers. We think you're about to get shaken up. And this is all about wake up, shake up, thrive. You know very well, that's the name of our business. By the way, it is abbreviated by the word WUSUT, wake up, shake up, thrive, WUSUT. So it's become a word. We call this walking the WUSUT talk, embracing life beyond 50, thriving at motherhood, work, and womanhood, supporting the WUSUT message to shake up mindsets and wake up the conversation about age. So Fran, I am just so delighted to have you here. We've known each other, what now, since the beginning of the year? Almost 6 months, I guess we met, correct?
It seems like a lifetime, and yet I know you're right, chronologically, about 6 months.
Yes, about 6 months. Fran is a master certified coach, NCC accredited with the International Coach Federation, and I have goosebumps because Fran is actually my mentor coach. I'm working toward, I will not say the mastery she's had, I am working toward the same mastery that she has accomplished. Fran is a visionary leader, an international speaker, and a published author. Fran is working with clients from all over the world with a mission to empower her clients to achieve their visions while living their best lives. Her legacy to the international coach profession demonstrates the value of personal and professional mastery and mentorship for all professional coaches like me. She's a steward of the ICF core competencies. She helps educate and advocate for those competencies as a speaker and coach mentor. And she was honored with the 2022 ICF Circle of Distinction, one of the greatest distinction any coach could ever get. Fran lives in Windsor, Colorado with her husband, 2 children, hold your hats, 7 grandchildren, and 12 great-grandchildren. Oh my goodness.
That's amazing. That's
right?
impressive.
And they don't live with me, by the way.
And the inspiration only begins there. So Fran, I would love to start with you sharing with us your major milestones and why you found them so impactful.
Oh, thank you for this question. This gave me an opportunity to waltz down memory lane and choose these key milestones in my life. And not only that, but why do I consider them impactful? That really was a meaningful question for me. And I'll tell you ahead of time that what I saw was values, top values. And I'll share a little more about that. The first major milestone, I always refer to this. When I was about 4 years old, I became self-aware of something about myself. I felt called to a life mission.
At 4?
And at 4 years old, the words were helping the world to be a better place.
Beautiful.
Truly. Now, what happened from there was, bottom line, I really went about it the wrong way, and it manifested as workaholism. Okay. Very high level standard for excellence. Very high level standard of excellence that I was always achieving. I was 4.0, if that means anything, valedictorian of my graduating high school class, and accompanied by a fear of being judged less than. Poor inner belief, not good enough, never good enough, whatever I do is not good enough. So these were the dynamics that ran my life through school, through the early years of my career. Now, I married young. I was 19 years old, 1 year of college under my belt. And a few years later, when I had 2 children, ages 5 and 6, I left that marriage. It was abusive. In these days, we call it a domestic violence. I didn't know what that meant, and I tried my best to make it work. This was psychological abuse and physical abuse. So I pulled my children out of there. What was the value? Integrity and self-value. I was beginning to realize, wait a minute, I deserve better than this. So that was the first biggie.
Huge one.
And what I'm proud about pulling my children out of that environment, Dominique and Elliot, is that I never badmouthed their father. I never judged him verbally in their presence. I certainly downloaded a lot with my girlfriends, but
That's what girlfriends
never,
are for.
yeah, never. And I will say we had a mature separation and divorce in that respect. Okay. And what happened, it took a year for the children to see for themselves the dynamics, the truth, and stop blaming me and coming home to the single parenting lifestyle, coming home to that space.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of the good job that we did. And there's more to that story, but I'll move on. Number 2, I fell into a 20-year career in residential real estate management. I lived on site managing apartments and condominium associations. And with 2 children, single parenting, I was working at home. We were at home. It was just a God thing, I have to say. So living on site, raising the children, and discovering my strengths in that. I worked for an absentee owner of these buildings, and I discovered my innate strengths. And I went forward from that career and made other owners of real estate millions of dollars. And they let me. Unfortunately, I was running my workaholic addiction. So that brings me to my workaholic addiction breakdown in 1989. It just took me to my knees. And the story of the circumstances are a book that I have yet to write. Anyway, I took myself after all those decades of personal growth work, which, by the way, I'm saying that these adversities were the motivating forces for all the personal growth work that I was doing concurrent. Okay. Yeah, I did, you name it, back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s. I read all the books, I listened to all the tapes, I took all the personal growth workshops. I could name some of the names I know you would find familiar. So I had that all within me intellectually and philosophically, and yet I hadn't yet the courage to take the leap of faith and call myself on this workaholic addiction. And I was blaming these owners who were saying, oh, we hear you, one person can't do this job. And then they just kept letting me. All right. And so I walked a beach. For a week because I was like this. I was spilling water in the glass. I probably should have checked into a hospital. But anyway, I walked the beach and I took a personal inventory and I swallowed the bitter pill of I've done this to myself. I can't blame them. They let me run my racket. And so I blew the whistle on myself. And I saw my strengths. And I saw also that I had a belief in a world that works for everyone. I had a vision. I had that vision. And what I saw was I was leaving myself out of the equation.
Yeah.
I was serving everyone else. And it was that fear of being judged less than. You follow me?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And so I took the risk. I decided I went that way and it didn't work. I ruined my health. I ruined actually a second marriage. I ruined my career and my health. I said health, but I mean, really key. And so that didn't work. And I know intellectually, spiritually, I need to put myself in the center and honor the God-given gifts that I've been given and my value and my worthiness. So I went back into that toxic environment and I made a promise to myself that I would put my 2 feet on the floor every morning and I would dedicate that day to honoring myself and nurturing me. And if there was anything left for anyone else, good luck.
They would have to fight for it.
They would,
Wow.
And what happened was the miracles started happening.
Wow.
miracles started happening. I would love to continue with that whole story, but fast forwarding, I relocated, found myself a new nurturing environment, and I spent a year unraveling those addictive patterns. And that was one of the most painful years of my life, not letting those patterns run and making new choices. There are stories in that space of mystical experiences that came to me that helped me on my recovery. And I'd love to share those stories with you someday. So that brings us to 1991, and it also brought me to discovering coaching.
Mm.
And how that unfolded was I started attracting small business entrepreneurs who they were not being successful in their business. And I started facilitating them in an inside out process virtually, what I had done for myself on that beach. Who am I? The essence of who I am, not the persona, not the personality, but who is the, so I discovered my gift, ladies. I discovered my gift of calling forth, facilitating people in discovering the essence of who they are.
Beautiful.
And designing their lives living from that empowering center, from their divine design, learning how to own and declare, I am my highest and best. And how do I live from there in every aspect, you know, the wheel of life, you know, every aspect, relationships, career, financial, you know, all the different aspects of life, making better choices, honoring their vision, their purpose, and their values. So I called that living your vision. Living, but this is the highest vision, not this outer someday when I grow up, but this is seeing the highest and best of myself, living that vision, the inner vision. And so I called it living your vision. Well, then again, fast forward, I met people involved with the beginning of coaching. I took a pilot course from the folks who founded the CTI, Coach Training Institute.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I started taking every class that they made available, and I became a flag-waving champion for coaching, and I launched one of the first 3 schools. My school was Academy for Coach Training, CTI, and Coach U. We were the very first 3 schools accredited by ICF. That's the pioneering, right? I mean, it called forth my passion, my vision, my mission, you know, that one that I felt at 4 years old. It was beginning to take shape, right?
Wow.
So I put that living your vision process at the core of my curriculum, training coaches. So every coach in my school learned the technology of calling forth and facilitating people and discovering the essence of who they are and how to live true to themselves, and then and that's transformational technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they had that technology to work with their own clients. So I created the licensing program and so forth. So that went, I mean, you know, the history, you know, then I was part of the founding parents of ICF, the founding board, you know, when I did that the first few years. So the rest is history. Here I am. You know.
Wow.
Beautiful. I take so much thank you so much, Fran, for sharing with us in such an authentic and spontaneous way. What I take from it is that you've demonstrated courage, being brave, self-awareness, and admitting, you know, what you had done well and what you could do better, but being very honest with yourself, to be honest with other people. And that at some way, the real you that you were when you were 4 years old, you found her back later in your life. And since then, you rocket, you know, to the sky and beyond. And that tells us a lot about when you find yourself, when you're in coherence, in agreement.
Coherence,
with who you
exactly.
are, that's where you can really, you know, blossom.
Where the miracles start happening, like you said, it's where the miracles start happening.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love the story. Thank you so much.
And my children now, you know, they had a parent modeling being true to herself and living from there, you know, so they have done well in their lives. They love me. I'm the matriarch of this family. I'm looked to for my wisdom. I love that. I just love it.
Oh, doesn't love that. Oh boy.
I love sharing my wisdom. And when I was an apartment manager, my residents would come in to pay the rent, and then they'd stay for hours, and they would just pull all this wisdom out of me. I was mother, sister, mentor. I was wearing all these hats. And I thought I was an apartment manager. And then
No,
it
no,
came
no, no.
together in that coherence, Dominique. It came together.
As a mom, and that leads me to a question I wanted to ask you is, you know, you had an impressive life, impressive career, but as a mom, it's also, you know, a true, a big story. I was curious to find out, how do you think you would manage things differently, or maybe not, being a mother than if you had not been one? What would have been different, if anything?
I have no idea. Really, truthfully, I have no idea how that might have been different. Kicking and screaming, I was fighting with my addiction in that parenting. You know, that was going on. So many, no, not now, not now, not now, with the children. Mommy, can we this and can we that? And, you know, and so many no's, particularly financially, because I was, you know, was really financially on the edge, you know, work, and yet the workaholism too. And so I felt guilty, and I used to say, I feel like the Wicked Witch of the West here, you know, no, you know, no, and it was not fun. And it was such a test of, you know, whatever, you know, my character building and so forth. And yet it couldn't have been any other way. The gifts of, well, for example, when my son was 14, he wanted to go live with this abusive father, this sick man.
Wow.
This is a spiritual path. I haven't even brought that into my story yet, but you have to know, this is totally a spiritual path for me. And when my son wanted to go live with his father, I was really afraid of his impact on, I've done a good job of stabilizing their life and learning new values and experiencing a healthy environment. And I had to let go and let God and trust.
Yeah, that's the second time you've said that. You've got the words trust, courage, and risk that come up constantly. Yeah. And as a parent, that fear of the well-being of the child, I can just feel it oozing through.
Yeah. When he drove away, I cried so deeply, so just such a painful sobbing of, anyway, just the memory comes back, of how much love between my son and I. And I will tell you, as he grew and grew into an adult, we are so close. He honors me so beautifully. Now, my children are in their 50s now, and they obviously have their own children and their grandchildren. And there was a time when, well, I've said it as adults. I said, okay, guys, you know, I was the Wicked Witch of the West in those days. I was an apartment manager, and I was working, and I was always having to say, no. Oh, no, Mom, you loved us. That's what they took away.
That is the hugest takeaway for every mom working out there. Trust that. You trusted that, and they feel it.
I wasn't feeling it. I was feeling guilt, and
you were feeling the Wicked Witch, but they were seeing you that way.
No. And and they had to learn. They had paper routes and bears, because I couldn't hand them. Right. You know, my son earned his own bicycle. They earned their own, you know, like that. And so as adults, here they are with really great money management, you know, and they've married beautifully. They have beautiful relationships. They're wonderful parents. And I finally said, you know what? That's a contribution I made. I'm owning that now. I am finally owning that.
This is going to be so precious for moms that are maybe 10 years behind you in that journey. This is so rich. And I don't know, you know, we haven't really talked about age, but you know that we work with people over 50. And this is really the group we're trying to inspire. So it's up to you to share, if you'd like to, how old you were when you had that breakdown, when this major shift happened in your life. You made these huge risky decisions. And I'm kind of curious if you have any thoughts about the advantages of being older. I can say older because we're all over 50.
Oh, yes.
50. the advantages you see for women working that, especially moms over 50.
Mhm.
Well, I'm doing the math here. In 1991 minus 44. Okay, so 7. What was I? 37?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Is that right? So 11, 8, 12, 13. Oh, I was only 37. Wow.
You were a baby then.
You were a baby.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. 91 when that all, okay. Well, back to being over 50. I walked the Camino in Spain at age 72.
Wow.
Which means she's older than 72, Dominique.
Yes.
Nobody that's
Yeah.
heard you for the last 15 minutes would ever believe that. So you walked with Camino de Compostela when you were 72 years old.
Yes. So I'm 79 now, halfway to 80. And as I look toward, I mean, it's surreal.
It is.
The number is surreal. 12 great-grandchildren is totally surreal.
Totally surreal. Gorgeous, but totally surreal.
I'm sure it keeps you young and lively, because that's the beauty of kids. They don't care about how old or how young we are. They just want to be with us, and they draw their energy onto us automatically.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
So
And they
it's
call
a
me
plus.
Graham.
Graham, that's adorable.
Nice.
Thank you.
So what are the advantages of being an older woman at work?
Well, in my career, oh my goodness, I attract clients who I mentor and who I coach, doing mostly mentoring these days, who want to work with my level of experience and wisdom.
Mm.
That's my
And
case when I chose to work with you. That was exactly my case.
Was it really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay more. So
It's a really important message to communicate. Really
it's
important.
yeah. And here I am, 7 grandchildren, 12 grandchildren, and they don't need me.
Right.
Mm.
And so here I am. I'm in this new marriage. For 20 years, I was single after 3 failed marriages. Okay. 3 failed abusive. What's the term? Aggressive, passive aggressive,
Mhm.
failed marriages that grew me to own my worthiness.
Mhm.
Okay. And where was I going with that?
Working women over 50 and your newly married.
Yes. So for 20 years, I was learning to be, the first 10 of those, I was learning to be my own best friend.
Mhm.
That was next after I said bye-bye on that third one. Up with this, I will no longer put. And so I face forward, okay, it's time for me to learn to be my own best friend. So I didn't do any dating. I didn't even attract a coffee date in those years. I was busy nurturing, growing, healing myself. And then I got to a point where I realized in that past, I was so needy. So that was what attracted these codependent, sick relationships, was my neediness. And so I went, oh, I'm noticing something different now. I'm noticing I have a preference. There's a distinction here. I wanted a life partner. I've always wanted a life partner who's also a business partner, that we have this together. That's just always been my dream and my preference. And so I realized something has shifted in me, and I don't need, if that's not my path, if that's not how I'm on my last days and how it turned out, I'm fine. I have a whole beautiful, prosperous, happy, full life. I'm making a difference in the world. And by the way, I will never retire.
I love to hear that. I love. Why retire? Why?
Why? Exactly.
No, this is my divine design. This is my path. This is my sweet spot. This is living my vision and my mission. And I'm married to a man now, 2 years, who is also a master certified coach. And he was a pioneer. We met in 1998 at an ICF conference. We've known each other long distance all these years. And here we are partnering. I moved from the Pacific Northwest to live with him here in Windsor, Colorado. And we're living a lifestyle of our dreams.
Thriving.
So
nice.
Thriving.
Thriving.
Oh.
And I'm so amazed. And I think that's a perfect example. We obviously tend to meet with a lot of people that are 50 plus or 45 plus. And we hear so often, I'm too old for this, or now my time is over and it's too late for me. What I love in your sharing, Fran, is that it's never too late to create your business, to be successful, to be a shark is aggressive, but a nice shark in the business world, and to have a life
married, to be duly married.
Exactly. So the message here that we hear is never too late, and you're the perfect example of proving.
I never gave up.
Blah, blah.
You never gave up.
I never gave up.
So
I
many.
listen, this is for the audience. 3 failed marriages. My girlfriends who are so close to me, like, oh my God, Fran, not another dating relationship. Oh, please, oh, please. And they just wanted to protect me, they just wanted to love and protect me, right? And I heard that, and in my knowing, in my deepest knowing, I was on my path of healing, and I never gave up for my dream of having this lifestyle and this quality of relationship.
Excellent.
Now
I cannot think of a better description of thriving.
Illustration. Yeah. My question though, because you know that Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive is about thriving, and you're a perfect example of thriving at your age, which I find beautiful. Has this thriving definition changed over the decades, or do you think that now you know the perfect definition of thriving because of what you've gone through and your resilience?
I do.
Your courage.
I do. Dominique, thank you. It was when Living Your Vision was birthed, when it emerged, when it came through me, and I recognized, and I actually coined this in 1991. The key to living the life and the work that you love is living true to the essence of who you are.
Oh,
beautiful.
That is so profoundly true. I just can't, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
I think
our audience is going to be so inspired.
Going to listen 5 times because this has been so rich with wisdom, Fran, with wisdom. That is
Thank you for the opportunity to share my stories.
They are just, I have goosebumps from my head to my toes. And when I say wisdom, I really want you to know a few things that just pop up for me. And I'm just only one of the listeners on this. One of the things that pops up for me is that wisdom is not because of age. It's thanks to age and experience. It's thanks to it. It was a gift that you knew how to embrace. There's something else that showed up for me as you spoke that I'd love just to say, which is girlfriends. And I really feel like as well, just the 3 ladies here, it's just something we can share. And I think it's something that our audience will share. Girlfriends are phenomenal.
Oh,
women, mothers, and this girlfriendhood.
Yes.
And it's just one other thing I would love to say as we say thank you is just, you are a walking beauty in all ways. You appear beautifully and you give beautifully. Dominique, I will let you add to that because that's why I invited you. What would you like to end with as we end our conversation?
I totally agree. And one thing that I'm looking forward, Fran, is to find out what's coming up for you in the next 30, 40, 50 years ahead. I would love to follow the story, and I would love to follow your example. I think you're an inspiration for many women, and the living proof that we can balance life at home, life at work, and it doesn't have to sacrifice anything to really feel good about it, and that both are possible despite of the many struggle. And I think that's one additional element, is that women are equipped for struggle and equipped for obstacles much more than we think. And that grows with age, and that grows with experience.
Yes.
And I really want to thank you for being so open, so willing to share very private and very tough experiences. And you've been a real example to us today. You. So I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because it's really a beautiful.
I feel so moment. Blessed in your space. I want to follow what the 2 of you are up to as well.
Well,
so let's make that promise.
New girlfriends, let's face it.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Thank you so much for today.